Hello, GenRight Nation. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is Tech Talk. Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate everybody watching live. It's always good to be live. And today, finally, here in the studio, I've got the Budget TJ in person. It's a little more beat up than I thought. It's a bit more weathered, but I think it's going to be fine, and it probably better represents a lot of what you guys might be able to find. You know, the poor thing's almost 30 years old, so you know, it's been out in the sun and sandblasted and whatever else. So Mother Nature's been beating on it, and that's going to be nothing compared to what I'm going to do to it. So anyways, thanks for joining us. If you'd like to ask a question, please type it in as a comment. Although we'll be talking about this, I'm happy to still answer any questions. So by all means, ask away, and Jennings will read those to me. It is always great to have everybody here, but if you aren't watching this live, or if you're one of those people who have to watch it after the live, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and watch it under the live videos. It's really easy to go back and watch all of the old live shows, live Tech Talks. So anyways, hope everybody's having a good day. And I've got a bunch of stuff here to talk to you about and what our plan is now that I've actually got it. I'll tell you what we did, and maybe Jennings can tell me who we got watching so far.
Alrighty, we've got lots of people. JC Cologne says hello, GenRight Nation.
Nice.
Mark Lawrence says hello, GenRight.
Hey, Mark.
That's a funny cover photo.
Yeah.
Hope all is well. Nice Little Jeep says hello, GenRight Nation. Richard Peterson. Rick Turner says, woo, it's finally here. Been waiting for the Budget TJ forever.
I never saw the cover photo, so I don't know what he's talking about. Was it the forklift shot, or?
Not sure.
I don't know, yeah.
Troy Merritt said hello, GenRight Nation from Nebraska. Made
Nice.
it home from Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion 2025
Yep, sounds like he had a good trip.
Frank Duck says back at it, boys and girls. Hello.
Yeah, big time.
Heath Basham says hello from Texas. Frank Duck says hello from Auburn, California.
Nice.
Terry says hello from St. Louis. Hope all are well.
Wow.
Randy Hemme says hello, Tony and Jennings and GenRight Nation from Louisiana. Two Feather Channel. Welcome to Jeepology. Tony the Jeep Doctor and his lovely assistant Jennings. Michael Costin says good evening, GenRight Nation from Green's Classic Customs in Fort Myers, Florida. Jeep Psychology says hello. Hello,
Nice.
Troy. Kathy McCavis said just made it. Almost Tony and Jennings time. Rod Andrews from Utah tuning in. Gary Williams from Veterans Build Shop Night in Mustang, Oklahoma with Bobby, Heath, Randall, Sandy, Phil, Jeff, and a few others.
Wow.
Working on rear coilover buckets for the LJ.
Nice. All right,
Daniel
well.
Partito says hello. Oh no, we're not done. Rich Jablowski says hello. Tony the GenRight Nation. Matt McDonough says, hey guys, pumped for another Tech Talk. Bottom line decals, new Jeep, can't wait to see it come to life. Nick Repinich, do your kids' middle names start with K and L? They could be JK and JL. Jamie Condi says, nothing some GenRight parts can't fix. Jeeper says, woohoo, Tony and Jennings time. Hi guys.
Nice.
Ginger. Foolish Habit LJ from Kentucky. Jason Berger from way up north. Jeffrey Hobday, hello from Lake Havasu. Nice Little Jeep asked, where'd you get the Budget TJ from?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, all right, everybody, we're here to talk about your favorite subject in mind, Jeeps, how to drive them, how to build them, anything related.
Like half.
I know, unbelievable. That's awesome. Well, thanks everybody for taking time out of your busy days to join us. Okay, couple updates. One, we just got back from our NorCal overland trip last weekend, right? Last Tech Talk we did from the beginning of it. That went pretty successfully. And a lot of people just got back. All part of our crew what I call our B team was over at Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion, so they're back now. Today, we put a brand new steering pump in Sonic. I think something happened and that one got screwed up, so put a new one in today. Gonna send the other one back and get it rebuilt, so I've got a good spare. And you know, as you know, that's the stage 1 build. So now we're gonna start taking the stage 1 Sonic around to different Jeep nights and different events, showing that. Jennings can drive that wherever she wants to go. We're going to be going up to Big Bear soon, like in the next couple weeks, for my birthday bash. So I'm sure she's going to have it up there. I'll be driving Aftershock. She'll be driving that.
I'm going to drive it to the mall.
And she's
Before I cut a curve.
she's going to drive it everywhere.
Show off.
So, and then we picked this up. So this is kind of exciting. So the first question we just had was, where do we get it? So I got it from a place out in Roseman, California, which is near Mojave, past Palmdale, Lancaster, if you're familiar with the area. Sergeant Jeep, and he's available over on Instagram, super active, and look him up. His name is Tommy, super nice guy. He knows Jeeps inside and out. In fact, he and I kind of have complementary skill sets when it comes to Jeeps, because he knows a lot of things I don't. I know a few things he doesn't, and together we're pretty dangerous. So we were having a lot of fun tracking this thing down and getting it ready to be built. So this thing, part of the reason I got this is because it's just been a pavement pounder. Some gal drove it for 197,000 miles, and the tranny gave up, and they just called Tommy and said, come get it. You know, they were going to get her a different vehicle. So, you know, like I said, it's almost 30 years old. I got it with no hardtop, no doors, and I also paid a very good price because of where it's at. Now, that said, this does have a Dana 30 in the front and a Dana 35 in the rear, and since it's a 97, it's got the 999 automatic transmission, which I happen to like, and I'll get into that in a second. But this particular one, the customer, the previous owner, said that the tranny was bad. Now, when I just rolled it in here, I heard other stuff that sounded bad to me. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to open the diffs, take a look at it. If the diffs look okay, I'm going to pull the tranny, get it over to my tranny guy, and have it rebuilt. My tranny guy is an expert at building these 999 trannies. And there's a bunch of upgraded parts for them, you know, clutch packs and carbon fiber, and you know, you can even do manual valve body. There's a lot of cool stuff. So if the tranny needs to be rebuilt, I'm going to do all that, and then we're going to take it out and wheel it just like it is, because I want to show everybody, like, hey, here's the before, what we could do, and then I'm going to show you the after. And we're going to talk about why these wide stock front bumpers are no good. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Now, one of the cool things is that's transpired since I think I talked to everybody last is right here. So I don't know if Jennings can pan down on this. These are JL 392 Rubicon Recon axles out of a 2025. So this rear axle is a full float rear axle. This also has the 488 gears already in it. Okay, so Sergeant Jeep called me, said, Tony, I just got a set of these things. Do you want them for the budget TJ? And I was like, oh yeah, I do. Because otherwise I was going to buy some JK44s or maybe even regular JL44s, but then I was going to have to put lockers in them. I was going to have to do gears. This saved me a bunch of time. And I'll be able to do, if it works, I can do our, reed knuckles and our high steer on this front end. There's a lot of cool stuff that I'll be able to do to put these under. The other nice thing is these are 68.5 inches wide, which means I'll have tons of clearance for a 37, especially on a TJ, and may even be able to go to a 40. We'll see. You know, this has got the stock straight 6-cylinder in it, which I was told ran perfectly when Tommy took possession of the Jeep, Sergeant Jeep. So, and I think I mentioned the nice part about this is because of the way that Sergeant Jeep got the Jeep is that I got a clear title. So that's nice. Otherwise, it'd be a salvage title. That can play some problems with getting insurance and some other stuff depending on where you live. But as far as I'm concerned, this thing's perfect. By the way, this had a hard top and hard doors on it forever. And when I opened the doors today, it didn't smell musty. It didn't. Sometimes when you open an old Jeep, they smell terrible inside. Not this one. The seats are in pretty good. The back seat's in beautiful condition. Passenger seat looks never used.
Get over there.
Yeah, if you can get over here.
They want to see.
Can you? There you go. Yeah, put some muscle in it. Nice. And I have already took the liberty of dropping on some of our half doors. But you probably have to come way over here to see inside. There you go.
Hey,
okay, so check out the interior. It's really nice. It's not even, you know, been beaten on by the sun. It does have an upgraded stereo in it. The driver's seat's got a little bit of wear on it, you know, on the side where you get in and out and stuff. Seat belts don't look too bad. But for the most part, this thing looks really good. So I've already got a soft top for it from Best Top. So that'll, you know, we've got lots of stuff laying around. So that's going to be easy for me to come up with.
Does it have a lift already?
It already has a lift, but whatever it came on it, I think a 4-inch. They didn't do 3.5-inch lifts way back in the day. They only did 4-inch. So, and it came with these steps, which I'm going to tear off. I don't mind the factory flares for now. The factory flares will accept a 37. And that was one of the benefits to the TJ. And of course, if you're going to go bigger than a 37, why don't we swing back around? If you're going to go bigger than a 37, you need to stretch, right? Because for some of you that have been following GenRight for a while, I have what I call the magic 100-inch wheelbase. So a TJ like this or a YJ is 93 inches stock. What you really need to be is 100 inches, the magic 100, to be on a 37. Because what happens is you start to exceed the length to height ratio. And once you do that, then the thing becomes a wheelie king. And I've already got a buyer for these 35-inch tires. Or no, these are 33s. And I got Mickey Thompson 35s. So I'm going to skip that step. So if any of you are watching, I've got a 35-inch 1250 15. I got a set of them. If you're interested, call me or message me, and I'd be happy to make you a deal on those because I'm going to get 37s. And then if there's anything on this Jeep that I'm taking off, you know, the factory bumpers or whatever, those little steps, that somebody wants, just message me, and I'd be happy to make you a deal on that stuff.
Mark says take it back. It's not yellow.
Well, good thing is our wrap guy is right on the other side of the wall, and he can turn this thing any color I want. So
and Trail Team 7 said, will it be yellow?
I don't know.
I want it to be yellow.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, that's the first I've heard of that.
I want it to be yellow.
Okay, well maybe.
Or red.
You know, by the time we put the fenders on.
But yellow is like your thing, and Terremoto hasn't been yellow in so long.
I know. So think of this. By the time I put the fenders on, you put the rockers on, you put the corners on, the only thing left is the hood and the cowl and the windshield frame. So to make it yellow is easy. So I could do that, no problem. All right.
All right, cool.
So, okay.
Keith Smith asked a question.
Sure.
He's got a set of half doors and wondered how you mounted the mirrors. Can you show that?
Well, this mirror, so this is a little after, can you zoom in on that? It's a little aftermarket bracket that's readily available on Amazon or, you know, wherever. I think, I don't know if Almix Ada or Warrior or somebody makes this. What's cool about it is it just adapts the factory mirror. They made it wide enough where you just take it out and you pop it in this thing. It's a cool little bracket, and you can swing it, you know, wherever you want it. I typically swing this back further because from the driver's seat, you're kind of looking through this pillar. So I'll loosen this up and swing this back.
I got some votes for red. I don't know, maybe red.
Maybe.
Sonic
If I do red, it'll...
red. That would look good side by side in the driveway.
It'll be that metallic red.
Yes.
If you don't want to run this style mirror, we make the Scotch mirrors, and we have a little mount that puts it on this flat spot. Can you come back over here?
Oh, no.
That puts it on this flat spot of the door. Right here. Can you see that? You might have to swing over. Okay. So you drill a hole, there's a little spacer, and you can mount that little Scotch mirror right here, and that's a cool way to do it. Now, for those of you that haven't seen our brand new TJ half doors, there's pilot holes in here that if you want to run our armrests or you want to run the soft upper windows, the factory TJ soft upper windows, you just drill these out and they pop right on. So that way, you know, you can still have a sealed Jeep or at least, you know, some wind and weather protection. So.
Oh, red, because then the driveway would be red, white, and blue.
Ah, there you go.
Red,
that would be pretty
red.
cool. That would be pretty cool. Okay.
Sonic Aftershock, and who's this?
Well, we haven't given this one a name.
Okay.
So, all right. What other questions you got?
Michael Pavlik said, I just picked up 2 TJs, one for the Magic 100 and one for a tracer build, hopefully.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Eventually, you know, we're probably going to step the skip of just stretching this, and we're probably going to go all the way to LJ. So, but I think what I told you is we're going to wheel it just like this. And then we want to show kind of like what its capability is, like a before, and then we're going to do all the mods and then take it out, wheel it, and show you the after.
Josh says first step, take off those side steps.
Yeah, those would just get wiped off on the first rock. And my rule is if you can't get in a Jeep this high, maybe you shouldn't be going off-road. Got to get you some yoga classes and start stretching.
Does that TJ have the infamous lifter tick?
I don't know. It doesn't even have a battery. I haven't even fired it up yet.
Okay, we got yellow, name it Hulk Hogan. Yellow, name it Tweety Bird. Red, white, and blue. Pink, and call it a Barbie Jeep.
Oh boy.
Sonic Aftershock, and new name Puddle Jumper.
Nice. A lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
A lot of good ideas.
Name it TJ as Tony Jr. What about Tony Jennings?
Oh, wow. All right. Well, let's talk about some parts for a minute.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
So
back this way.
you got to lift it up. Do the whole. There you go. Keep going. Or you. Well, watch that light. Lift it up again. There you go. All right. Good job. Okay. So as a lot of you know, we make this what we call a stubby bumper. This particular one happens to be aluminum. I haven't decided whether I'm doing aluminum or steel. This thing is like, you wouldn't even know what's in the box. I think the hardware is heavier than the actual bumper. And I've got this worn winch to put on.
Oh yeah, Knuckles. That's Sonic's red friend.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that wouldn't be bad.
We'll think about that.
Well, think about that. At least there's some logic to it.
There is some logic there.
So, yeah, I was going to put this worn. It's their low-cost VR version, and this one's got a synthetic rope on it and stuff, which is kind of nice. But, yeah, certainly because of the budget nature of this, you know, I was looking for lower cost, still a good brand name, kind of like GenRight, good brand name. And then in the rear, I'm going to put, this is our rear bumper plate that we make, along with a step and a receiver hitch. If you've never seen one of these things are works of art. They got the toe points welded on. And keep in mind, you know, the way this bolts on to the frame, that toe point is right in the middle of directly mounting the frame, and it goes underneath the body mounts. So it wraps around the whole thing. And in addition to that, there's another frame tie-in that goes down below on the inside. So there's a ton of beef that goes along with this thing, and really makes it nice. Now this tow hitch is not made for actually like towing a little trailer or anything. It's really made more for a bike rack, or, you know, another accessory rack that would allow you to carry more stuff, like a cargo rack, right? So now the reality is, could you move something small? Probably, but you know, there's no points on here to attach chains or anything, so it's really not made for towing something down the highway. It's just made for maybe moving something around on your piece of property. Okay.
Sean
Then
Flaherty said, "Hey Tony, thanks for the deal on the TJ half doors. I ordered from Jeff at Smoky Mountain. They'll be here Friday. I'm excited."
Nice, nice. Okay, then when it comes to rockers, you know, we've made these things since the beginning of time. These are 3/16 thick steel. These are 6 inches tall, so they come up the whole width on the side to protect the whole side, and the door opening is right here. They do have a dimple die step, just like the back bumper, to give some traction as you get in and out. This is an 1 3/4 thick wall DOM tube, and all of this, the tube work on here helps the structure to keep this rocker and prevent it from being bent in any way.
Matt McDonough says, "I like the TJ rear bumper plate. It would be cool to have a JK version."
Yeah, that's the
agree.
JK is like a completely different design. So
It'd be so cool to have a little step back there.
it would be.
Like wash it, load stuff on the roof.
So our JK bumper has a little step built into it. That's part of the design. So maybe take another look. Okay, so these rockers are essential. We only make these in steel, and they come unpainted so that you can trim them up or do whatever. Now this will fit this Jeep perfectly because it's completely stock, so there won't be any trimming. Now if I put on our GenRight fenders, then you'd have to trim a little bit off the front. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and mount these up, and then down the road when we put the fenders on, we'll trim it to match. So that's going to be the first, well, the second steps, right? First step is get it running, go drive it. Second step is going to be getting this stuff on. Third step is going to be getting the axles in. So we'll start walking through, and we're going to record the heck out of this, and we're going to be talking about it on Tech Talk for months to come. Of course, we're going to put a cage in. While we were out there at Sergeant Jeep, we shot some videos of all the rolled Jeeps, and they're just smashed flat. And man, it just shows you that you need a cage. And by the way, every one that was smashed flat out there didn't even happen off-road. So everybody that goes, well, I don't wheel that hard, well, nice job, because they all smashed themselves on the street. So, all right.
Brandon Trusty said, "I noticed you run Mickeys on everything. Is that a sponsored thing? Looks like they do great. I'm trying to decide on the Mickey Boss MTs or the Nitto MTs running 37s on JKU."
So one of the reasons that I've chosen Mickey Thompson, and it's funny because somebody just noticed this last week. I saw them sitting by my Jeep, and they were looking at the sidewall of the Mickey Thompson, and they go, "Hey Tony, your tires on Aftershock are a C rated." Now I don't know if you know what that means, but typically a truck tire is D rated, and it has to do with the thickness of the sidewall. So one of the things when I first met the guys at Mickey Thompson was that I noticed, and I've worked with them, right, over time, because we got with them, you know, years ago, was the engineers were listening. They wanted to create a Jeep tire for Jeeps. All the other companies create a truck tire and they sell it to the Jeeps. So if you go look at any of the other brands, they're going to be D or E rated, and that is a thick, stiff sidewall. So here's the deal. If you're one of those people that never looks outside and you do what I call driving by braille, yeah, you need the thicker sidewall. If you want performance, if you want lighter unsprung weight, if you're willing to look out the window and see where your tire is, get a Mickey Thompson. It is the latest, the newest tire that's been designed and built. Everybody else, their designs are old, and really that Mickey Thompson is the latest and greatest. So, and they're continuing to come out with more and more sizes in both the AT and the MT. And I know initially the availability was a little sparse, but they've caught up on their production. And man, you know, every time I call for them, they've got them and they're able to ship them right away. So
we all love our Mickeys.
I mean, if I were you, I'd give them a try. I doubt you'd be disappointed. So.
Tony, do you not like tube style bumpers at all?
These I can make, you know, higher clearance. So, you know, it's not obvious, but, you know, the frame goes up inside here. So I'm not a fan of hacking the front of the frame. What you don't realize, if you've ever had your bumper off, right underneath here is a big tube that's welded in. It's a torque tube as part of the frame. And I'm not a fan of cutting that. So I made our bumpers as tight and, you know, close as I could. And they're also, you know, shaped in a way that will let you, you know, get over stuff if you hit it. And again, I'm always about function first, and then I try and make it look as nice as I can to still provide the best function. In the rear, this is right up against the back of the frame, so you can buy it without this stuff and just, you know, have it dead on the back of the frame for the best departure angle. The only thing that will be sticking out is your toe points. And man, you know, you can do that. Some people like this step, and some people like the receiver hitch. I know for me, you know, this Jeep will be kind of an all-around Jeep for me. So I probably will put an extra cargo rack in, or our bicycle racks. So, you know, that's going to be a little bit more functional for me. You don't want to tow or pull from your receiver hitch, even though we've got it all beefed up and it's welded on there good. You just don't want to, you'd rather use the toe points because they're right over where it bolts onto the frame. You've got 4 grade A bolts on each side holding that to the frame, so that's really going to be your best spot to tow from, not from the middle. Okay.
Anthony says slider install was really smooth, even if you radius the front for the tube fenders.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal. They sit up as high as you can get them. Now I'm installing what we call our standard rockers, and you can see it's a simple, 90-degree bend. We also have a mini boat side rocker that cuts off this corner, and that gives you another 1.5 inches of clearance right on the edge. Now, can you actually go that way? It's easier for you to go this way. If you look at the body, this is a good thing that we're going to talk about this. So you see the body right here? Well, it actually goes up 2 inches on the inside, right? This is just a pinch seam. So with our mini boat sides, what you do is you bend this back. You do not cut this, right? Because if you cut it, a bunch of layers are going to come apart. You just bend this back. It'll bend back real nicely. And you can use a small, rubber mallet or something to bend it back. But then you get another 1.5 inches of clearance right here. Now, when you think about, when you lean over or whatever, you're going by stuff on the trail, a little bit more clearance right here makes a big difference. So it's important, and that's why our mini boat side rocker is so popular. I'll put on the mini boat sides when I upgrade to an LJ. So right now I'm going to do the standard rockers. They're cheaper, and then we'll kind of throw the budget out when we convert it to an LJ.
Oh, Travis asked, is there a final end budget yet?
Well, it's one of the things that I wanted to talk about was initially I had the Matrix taillights on the budget that I was originally doing, but these taillights are in fine condition, so I don't really need to change the taillights right now. The only reason I did the aluminum half doors is because they're cheaper than what I can buy genuine, half doors, factory half doors for. And it's what we do, right? So I want to represent our product. And it takes the upper window, so it's no big deal as far as overall. And once I do the cage, I'll put an aluminum roof on that too. And that works, with the window, it works pretty good. We've done it on Jennings Sonic. And you have a small opening that you could actually put some foam in. But when we drove it, we went a long way to the Grand Canyon.
It was fine.
And you didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but there's a thing that goes on right here, like a back window and a cover. It's called a windjammer. And if you put that in, you can keep this area, either cooled with your air conditioning or heated with your heater pretty nicely. It's a small area. The Jeep's system keeps up with that really good. Down the road, when I replace the seats, I'll replace them with heated seats. So that'll be a nice option as well. I'll get some PRPs and put them in there. So, yeah, it's, really, I think I was hoping to open the conversation with a lot of people about, where to spend money, where you should and where you shouldn't. To get the most out of making your rig a real wheeler, right? So my original intention was to get you something on a budget, and I think my budget was like 15, 18 grand, that will get you through the Rubicon. So in this case, including the price of the Jeep, it would be under 20 grand. You can't even buy a Honda Civic for that. So I think we're going to have a real winner here. And I'm a little over budget on the axles, but only a little. So I can make up for that by taking a couple other things off. And by the way, when I was out at Sergeant Jeep, he was telling me hey, tell people to give me a call, if they're looking for a Tuffy center console or an air compressor or even GenRight parts. He's got Jeeps that have come in with GenRight parts on them, JKs, JLs, JTs, and he's got them there. So if you're a bargain hunter, by all means give him a call because there's some deals to be had for sure. Okay.
Jason Berger said, I took off my steel bumper and Smitty built.
Yeah.
Winch swapped with a Warren and Tony's ultra clearance bumper, and my Jeep went up an inch in the front.
Yeah.
Definite weight reduction.
Definite weight reduction. Yeah, it makes a big difference. It does. So
Jeep Adventures.
What other
Josh
question you got? Yeah.
asked, have you ever cut the bottom body edges to gain that extra 2 inches?
So that's what I was just talking about. I'd rather bend them back to clear our mini boat side rockers than cut them, because that's a pinch seam. So once you cut that, now if you're a welder and you've got all kinds of capability, then God bless you. You've got a bunch of work to do to put all that back together. But for most people, they don't want to cut. They don't want the risk of creating a rust area. So that I just tell them to bend it back, and it gives them the clearance they need.
On the rockers?
On the rockers, yeah.
Let's see. Will you stretch this one to an LJ?
I
Yes.
will. Yep.
If you get anything other than a C rating on your Jeep, it probably rides like a floor jack.
That's right. That's right. And that's what I'm talking about. So people, see a Nitto or a Toyo, and that's a really thick tire. They're well made, you know, just as well made as, you know, something from Goodyear, BF Goodrich, or Mickey Thompson. But you know, that's a heavy truck tire. So, and we've never talked about this before, by the way. Even though we've talked about, you know, airing down and tires and all kinds, we've never talked about the ratings on the sidewall or for the tire, and that is an important thing. But people noticed how flexible my 40s were going over rocks and stuff, and they wanted to know what I was aired down to, because the tires were just molding over stuff, and it makes a huge difference.
Laura Coda said, I love my Mickeys. We just bought a set of 37s for Sydney's LJ and 40s for my Blue Jeep.
Nice.
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 Terry says Mickey Thompson needs to make a 16-inch 35 and a C. I just bought new tires for my son's 2002 Dakota and had to get new wheels to get a C load range. No one makes a C 16-inch 35.
So he had to go to a 17 then? Probably. Yeah.
Jeep Psychology asked Tony, are you going to put crossover steering on it before you wheel it?
So not for this. Like I'm going to wheel it just like it is. And by the way, I'm sure from that angle they can't see how pinner this steering is, but it is scary small and thin. That is literally like the size of my pinky right there. And it's thin. Like, you know, in the past, we've taken people out with this kind of stuff, and they end up breaking, you know, if you touch it, it'll break. If you get in a bind, you know, where you're trying to like wheel up something, you know, have the sidewall climb, it'll break. So it's not ideal. Now, certainly, you know, this is a 33-inch tire. You know, a lot of the time you can get away with it. But once you want to go to a 35 or even a 37, you need something way stronger. So once I go to the JL axles, I'm going to put our steering on there. But for now, I'm just going to wheel it like this. And if the steering breaks, it's going to be a great example. Like, see, this is exactly what I talked about.
Rick Turner said we sold him. He was almost going to pull the trigger for the Nittos, going to get the Mickey Boss C rated DOTs.
There you go. You'll be happy with that. You'll be really happy with that.
Jeep Adventures asks, do you have a front bumper with box protection?
With box?
Box protection?
Oh, steering box. So, in fact, that's interesting that somebody asked that, because I forgot. You know, by the way, when I started the company 20 years ago, we designed all the parts for the TJ, and I haven't looked back since then, right? So I get this thing today, and I see the steering box hanging down right here. By the way, this is super, super vulnerable. There's a small clip that holds this cap in, and the box is cast iron, right? Now, you're thinking to yourself, oh, cast iron's pretty strong.
Yep.
Well, till you hit it right here on this lip, and you disfigure the shape of this, or it cracks, and then it spits this cap off. When that happens, you're losing everything. Like the entire guts are going to pour out of this thing, including all the fluid, and you got no steering. Okay? So, a long time ago, especially because we make aluminum bumpers, we designed a steering box skid plate for this. It is separate, and it is made out of steel. The other thing that we sell is a steering box brace that also goes across to the other side of the frame. All this stuff's on our website. But if you're running without a skid plate on there, you need one now. And you can put it on with this bumper. Like, it's I don't know, it's $40 or whatever it is. It's worth every penny. You break that steering box, you're going to ruin your day, maybe even your weekend, and it's going to cost you a lot to fix that steering box. So you definitely want to do that. And I forgot this on my budget list, so I'm putting that on. So it's interesting that somebody mentioned that.
Joshy Poo.
Josh did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Anthony says, for anyone wondering, you have to notch the rear cross member on the frame of the TJ to have room for the hitch on that rear bumper.
You do. Yeah, this comes through. Okay, so can you see that?
Yeah.
How it comes through. So remember I told you that this bumper plate wraps around the stock rear cross member. By the way, the stock rear cross member is 1/8 inch or less thick. This is 3/16. Oh, and here's another important thing. See how when we weld on the toe points, we actually rosette weld from the inside. So we don't just weld on this side and make it look nice. It's actually melted into the actual metal. So these are all important things and differences of things that GenRight does. Same with this 2-inch receiver, it's welded from the back as well. So yes, you do have to notch out so that this thing will slide over as well. Okay?
Michael Pavlik asked, when you go to events, how often do you personally drive your rigs out there versus flying out and meeting up with the crew?
Oh, well, almost always. So I'm not sure which events we're talking about. Like, if I, well, for instance, you know, I just drove 10 hours in aftershock on 40-inch tires to our overland adventure, and that entire round trip was 1,800 miles. So, and, you know, surprisingly enough, even people that were on the trip with us, I said, yeah, I just, you know, here in California, the speed limit's 70, but I would commonly set the cruise for 80, and even with the V6, it does it just fine on 40-inch tires. Because when you re-gear the axles, you actually fake the Jeep into thinking it still has 32-inch tires on it. So the motor, tranny, everything runs perfect just like it did the day you bought it. But you've adjusted for the bigger tire. So yeah, you got a little more wind resistance. You're pulling a little bigger tire that's probably wider than stock. So your fuel economy is going to be a little less, but the Jeep does it fine, and it, you know, it rides great, runs great. So yeah.
Terry says maybe a good idea, maybe not. On the JK bumpers, would you want to add dimple die holes on the step portion like that TJ bumper?
On a JK bumper, so most of the time what I do is I rely on the rear bumper. We could, what I usually do on mine is I add a little grip tape. It's exactly the width of grip tape, and I just put it in there, and then that allows me to step on that to get in the back. You know, the portion that is not as big as this, you know, for the JK, and I've never looked to see if I could fit dimple dies in there. On the JT bumper, we actually have a dimple die upgraded step piece that you can put in that's stainless steel, and that's a really nice upgrade that I highly recommend. So, because it gives you that all-weather traction. Yeah.
Jeep TJ6 said, good call. I bought the mini boat sides and had to extend them.
Oh yeah, and we make the extension pieces. So you can buy a 24-inch piece that you can cut in half and put 12 inches on each side or whatever. A lot of people don't realize we only released that about, I don't know, 2 months ago. But even Ginger, who I don't know if it's on, was asking me about that, and I said, oh yeah, we got the piece now, we just add it on.
Nice little Jeep said lava jackets work really good.
Lava jackets?
Yeah. I don't know for what. Travers asked, did Sergeant Jeep keep the hardtop and full doors?
He did. He did, and that lowered my price. Right? I don't need that stuff.
Two Feather Channel asks, keeping the nice sounding 4.0?
Keeping the 4.0.
Mark Lawrence said, off topic, on the budget YJ, you replaced the windshield frame. Did it come with the glass installed, and would you buy it again?
Okay, so the budget YJ, you know, YJs were notorious, same as CJs, for the windshield frame rusting. It had to do with a big rubber seal that they had right here at the bottom. So when I got the YJ, that was rusted out. It was nasty. I had just started working with a company that made fiberglass windshield frames, and no, it did not come with the glass, and it Took a bit of work to, on the YJ, the windshield wipers are up in the windshield frame and the motor and everything's up there. On these, everything's down here in the cowl. So it took a bit of work to adapt all that. The supplier was really having trouble even keeping up with demand on those windshield frames, so we just stopped working with them. And we tell people, you know, they can go there direct and buy them, but it's not worth us stocking them. So the windshield frame's fine. Craig, that owns the Budget YJ right now, still has it on there. It works fine. So, yeah.
Rick Turner asked, will you be taking the Budget TJ on the Rubicon for the next year's Jeepers Jamboree?
No, I'll do that on a separate trip. Jeepers Jamboree is a vacation for me, and I want no headaches whatsoever. So I'm going to take one of my giant tire Jeeps that is practically like driving autopilot through there. So, yeah.
Anthony asked, what's the stock gearing on that TJ? 3.07?
Don't know. Tomorrow I'm going to have the diff covers off. It's probably that, or, you know, maybe as high as 373, maybe. So.
Okay, Joe Alice asked, what is your dislike about moving the steering box forward on TJs and LJs?
So, you got a couple of issues. One is the steering box is already as forward as you can get it without messing with that big tube that I was just telling you is welded in there. So if you modify that tube, that means that you've taken away a lot of the strength. So you don't realize it, but these frames flex a lot, okay? So this tube is like a torque tube to actually get everything to come back where it originally was. It also keeps the entire frame. So, you know, if you tow somebody out on one side of the frame, it keeps the whole frame from doing a parallelogram and staying that way, okay? So, if you buy a big bumper, you know, from me, and it would have to be steel, of course, and you want to remove that tube, you have to fully weld that thing on. You cannot just bolt it. That's more commitment than most people are willing to. And, you know, you can see the steering box is already, you know, when we get rid of this factory bumper, you know, my bumper is going to sit back even further, and that steering box is going to be more exposed. So I don't know why I'd want to move that even further forward, or, you know, I think what a lot of people try and do is they try and move it up, which creates a different problem because you only have so much range of motion with whether you're running tie rod ends or Heims of how much that thing can drop out. So on both ends, right? So really up at the pitman arm, it's going to be maxed out, which is why we make the twisted pitman arm, right? Because you don't use very much of the range of motion up, you use it all down. So we twist the pitman arm so that it has way more range of motion down, but it does use more of the motion up because it's twisted. So, but you can only go up so high because we do notch the frames sometime a little bit, but you can only notch the frame 30% of its width. So you never want to go any more than that because when you're winching and stuff on the front, it's pulling on that frame where you've cut away. So there's a lot of consideration. I mean, these are all great questions, and I haven't talked about this stuff in, I don't know, 15 years. So it's good to have these subjects coming up for sure. What else you got?
Does Mickey Thompson make a 37-inch for 15-inch rims?
They do.
Cool. Snowboard Life asks, what's up, GenRight? What's a good street tire but still good off-road?
What? Oh, the AT, the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss AT is an excellent tire. Like,
I love those Legends ones too.
Yeah, those are good too. You had those for a while.
I like them a lot.
Yeah, on Tails. But what did I just wheel that had the ATs on them, and the thing like was glued to the ground? I was really surprised. I don't even remember which Jeep I was driving, but they worked great. So.
Michael Costin, is the transfer case being switched out?
the transfer case, does it need to be pushed out?
Is it going to be switched out?
Yes, at some point it will. I'm going to check tomorrow. I'm going to check the condition of it. Obviously I've got to pull it to pull the transmission out. I'm going to go through it. I think when I looked under it earlier, it already has a slip yoke eliminator, which I was a little surprised. It does. So this has got a full CV drive shaft in it already with a slip yoke eliminator. Now it's really not wet oil, but oily under here, like the dirt has stuck to it. So I got to figure out where all that's coming from. But it does have the slip yoke eliminator and a full CV drive shaft.
What is a slip yoke eliminator?
What's that?
What is that?
That is, so we've installed one of those on the budget YJ. So a normal YJ TJ, the drive shaft actually plunges in to the transfer case. What you want to do is you want to throw that away and get a drive shaft that actually plunges into itself and it's fixed up at the transfer case. Because what happens is if for some reason drive shaft broke or you needed to take it off, then all the fluid dumps out. Where with the slip yoke eliminator, it's got a seal right there and it will not leak.
Okay.
So, and I know you haven't seen that, like you haven't been on the trail with me, Jennings, but boy, if you ever have to take off that rear drive shaft to get off the trail because you're, maybe driving front wheel drive, the last thing you want is all the transfer case fluid dumping out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeep Psychology says they can snap, they bend. A tie rod from a ZJ works better than stock.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to make one trip.
Gavin Huddick said, just checked on Mickey's website. They only sell the Baja Boss in a C load in 40 by 13.5 by 17. That's why, was wondering why my current 37s were a D, but that's why.
Wait. The 40? Because my 40s are C. That
Says
same size.
They only sell the Baja Boss in a C load in that 40 by 13.5 by 17 size.
And then the 37, isn't that a C?
That's a D. That's
even
why.
on yours? I don't know. I thought those were C's
I don't
too.
know.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to look at that. I could have swore they were C's.
37, 12, 5, 17s?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're rated though. G-Per says I'm going to need a skid on mine.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a very inexpensive, easy to install thing.
Aram says, will the steering box skid plate work with hydro assist?
Yes. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the hydro assist. So it works fine. You can use it with or without.
V asked Tony, is that the same rear bumper that comes with the TJ to LJ conversion kit?
No, the TJ to LJ conversion kit's a little bit different. The shape of the rear bumper looks more like this on the TJ to LJ kit. And I think that has a built-in receiver, if I remember right. It's Frenched in the same way we do it on the EXS. So yeah, that's we should show that sometime. The construction on the back of that bumper, it's got all kinds of reinforcement built into it. It's very, very intricate and heavy duty, and until you looking at one or holding one, do you even begin to appreciate like the work that's gone in to create that structure. So
Troy asked, in the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss, do you want the XS and not the regular MT?
Well, the XS looks like a UTV tire. That's the one that's got like big knobby mud looking tires. Which, for driving on the they'll drive on the street, but that wouldn't be my preference to drive on the street. I like the regular MT.
Anthony asked, any chance you can talk Banks into making to turbo kit for the TJ again?
Oh man, I don't know. A lot of companies, quite frankly, have moved on. They're so busy trying to keep up and supply parts for the newer Jeeps, the JKs, the JLs. I don't know. I mean, it seems like you'd be able to adapt one. I mean, that, you know, might not be an off-the-shelf kit, but I see people put turbos on all kinds of stuff, so it seems like you'd be able to do it.
Troy says, I'll take the budget TJ on the Jeepers Jamboree for you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Jason Berger said the first thing people say when they see my Jeep with all the GenRight stuff is, oh, you spent some money. GenRight is nice stuff. All right.
Yeah, you know, it used to be that way, everybody. You know, it used to be that we were the higher price, but honestly, I've seen our copycat competitors actually exceed our price on several items. So I think everybody needs to reacquaint themselves with what the pricing is out there.
I agree with
that. We're
statement.
very competitive, very competitive.
I agree with that
And
statement.
you get exactly what you pay for.
And you never have to buy twice.
So one of the things that I wanted to point out to everybody, since that came up, is, you know, when you're looking at bumpers or brackets or whatever it is you're looking at on the internet, very seldom can you tell from the copycats to GenRight that they made it out of slightly thinner material, or they're doing something to cut, to save, and it's not the same. The picture may look the same. There may be, you know, 6 parts there and 6 parts there when you're looking at the pictures, but I'm telling you, it's not the same. They've done something substandard, and you are not getting GenRight level quality, performance. There's no way. If I could do it cheaper, I'd already be doing it cheaper.
I'm sending hearts back to Cali.
Ah, nice. Let's see, what else were we talking about?
Jeep Psychology said my 98 TJ, the factory gear was a 410.
Yeah.
Michael Pavlik said, I watched a video and it seemed as if the owner was helping build his Jeep there on site. Is an owner-assisted build an option? And how often do you guys do it, if it is?
So what video was that?
I have no idea.
Oh.
It seemed like an owner was helping build his own Jeep on site.
That meaning me?
No, the owner of the Jeep.
Oh, the owner. Oh, no, we don't really do that. You know, there's too much liability, unfortunately. I mean, anytime I've had somebody in the shop, you know, they're wearing the wrong shoes, they trip on something, an airline or a cord. It's like a disaster, and not everybody's, you know, used to being in that kind of an environment where there's stuff sticking out that's sharp, and, you know, somebody's using a grinder and it's spitting sparks and stuff, and they're getting them in their eyes. It's not a friendly environment, I should say that. You know, it's loud and dangerous, to say the least. Almost always, you know, Jennings will see me with, you know, right now I've got what's left of a smashed fingernail growing out, but I've got cuts all over. I got one on my shin right now. There's just...
I don't like being here. It's dangerous.
She'll come in and help me clean stuff, you know, like as we take things off the Jeep, but yeah, otherwise it's loud, it's noisy, it's
dirty.
Hot, you know, dirty. Yeah, like when you leave here, you need a shower.
And buy new clothes.
Well, I always wear thrashed clothes because they get thrashed. So.
Craig Huffman asked, what about rotating the steering box to a horizontal position so the pitman is straight down and the cap of the box is behind the torque tube?
Well, that goes back to what I was talking about. So you don't want to push this back any further, the steering box, because it's starting to get into the axle. What we're always trying to do is move the axle more forward. And our twisted pitman arm is actually shaped so that we can, normally the tie rod is behind the pitman arm, and we actually move it so that it's under the pitman arm because we move the whole axle forward. So you certainly don't want to move this back. And, you know, if you rotate this, then what's sticking down is a sector shaft. So that's the second most vulnerable thing that you don't want to hit on your steering box. So, you know, right now they're almost even. So when we put a skid plate on there, we're covering both. We're protecting both. So, and again, I go back to, there's two things I'll always tell you. If there's a better way of doing it, I would have already done it. The other thing that I always consider is, when you move the steering box, you've just added double the complexity to the build, because you're also faced with the steering column that connects to it. So you start moving things, and unless you're completely stock, which most Jeeps aren't anymore, there's stuff already in the way that moving the steering column, and not everybody has the ability to cut and lengthen that or shrink it, or there's a ton of considerations when you start moving the steering box. Just the plumbing alone, getting the lines in and out. Sometimes you have to modify the bottom of the grill. There's and then that means that you're making lines. Not everybody is up to making lines. They just want to run the stock lines. So, which is also, by the way, easier to get, when you break one or you want to carry a spare. So, all good questions, but they're the reasons I don't move that steering box, for sure.
Jeep TJ6 asks, what's the weight on those half doors? I want to bring a set back to Taipei with me in check-in baggage next summer.
Oh, they're light. I can weigh them, and, I don't have a scale over here right now, but I could weigh them and report back.
Let's see. Michael Costin said my 37s are C rating. And Chandler said the Mickey XS is C load, the MT is D load.
Okay. I need to check that myself.
I think I have MT.
Yeah, you have the MTs.
So that would be D. Zenland Zipline said, Tony, I'm doing a D60 Super Duty front and a JL Rubicon axle for my rear. Front axle will be heavier. Do you see any issue I might have?
No. In fact, one of the things that nobody ever told me when I was wheeling, because, I went out with the Jeep Club initially, and, like if the front end started to get light, somebody would sit on the front or hang on the front or whatever to help keep the front end down so I could get up over something. Well, the last day that ever happened was when I put a 60 under the front end. Because now you've added the extra 200 pounds on the front, and it's down low. Okay, so yeah, as you come up over stuff, you're going to feel incredibly planted. And honestly, I was kind of miffed that nobody ever told me that. And I was like, why do people have such a hard time explaining the benefits of something? Which was also a big reason why I wanted to do Tech Talk. Because I feel like I'm one of the few people that can actually communicate this. So, whatever. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad you asked, and no, that won't be a problem. Having the weight down low where you need it is awesome, and the Jeep's going to work even better, for sure. Yep.
Daniel Partita question, is there a reason to have dual valves on the top of the fuel tank? Or I think those are valves. I've seen some rear fuel tanks with single one and other side is capped off.
Okay, so do not cap it off. You need two. What that's doing is, as the gas sloshes, that lets the fumes out that are supposed to be going over to your charcoal canister or evap system. And what happens is say for instance, you're on an angle for a while, or even you park there. Well, just with the temperature change outside, like say you start in the morning and it's 60 degrees, and by the time you're done at the end of the day, it's 90 degrees, your tank will actually, blow up and start, or either spitting gas out or flooding the engine. It'll trust me, it's going somewhere. So you've got to have two of those valves. And they can't be blocked off. They need to be routed somewhere that can let the tank put air in as gas comes out and let the thing expand and contract as the temperature changes or you change in altitude. So again, those valves are like $40 a piece. I don't put two in there just because I feel like charging you more money. Quite frankly, they're a pain in the butt to get, and they're hard to install. So if I didn't have to put two in, I wouldn't be doing it, but it's the right way to do it. That's why we call it GenRight, okay? What else you got?
Joe said, thank you, Tony, for the Labor Day sale. I have ordered a carbon fiber hood, Highline front fenders with all the options.
Nice.
Rear external fenders, 2 long sleeve shirts with a pair of GenRight socks.
Awesome.
KD says, my O3 TJ is overheating. I've swapped out the water pump thermostat fluids. Heater core is pushing hot air, and the system passes a pressure test and now has cloudy fluid. What would you check?
Okay. So this was a Jennings problem for a long time, and it may be yours. Maybe you did it. Maybe the person before you got the Jeep did it. But if they went mud womping, the radiator is clogged, or the radiator has residual dirt on each of the cores that's supposed to cool the water. Okay? So first thing you need to do is simple green that and pressure wash it and clean that. If that's not the case, then you need to check your fan. The fan should really be pulling hard. And what year did they say that was? 98?
Did he say?
It's a clutch fan.
03.
03. Okay, so still clutch fan. By the way, the factory fans move a ton of air, like unbelievable amount of air. But if the clutch fan's bad, then it's just going to freewheel. So you need to check that and make sure that that's actually working. And by the way, that's on a little thermostatic spring is the best way to describe it. And as soon as that sees heat coming, then it expands and locks the fan up and gets it to turn with the belt on the engine. So first I would check to make sure that that radiator is dead clean and everything in front of it, there's no blockage. You don't want any of the little mesh crap and your winch and lights. Like, this needs to be wide open. Never block this, okay? And then make sure it's clean, check your fan, and if it still runs hot, then you've done it all. So you got some other problem, like an internal engine problem that's creating a massive amount of friction. So, but check those things and I guarantee it's one of those.
Snowboard Life asked earlier when you think you'll be wheeling on the East Coast again, or doing an event or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't even, the only thing we've talked about for next year was the new Jeep Freedom event in Sturgis on the 4th of July. So we know we're going to South Dakota for sure on the 4th of July. So that's going to get us halfway to you. Maybe you could meet us in the middle. The Black Hills are great wheeling. We do an event there in August. So we could go wheeling in July as well.
And then he also asked, what is the purpose for axle swaps? Because I have 37-inch tires on stock axles on my JKU. What should the axles be to perform perfectly?
Well, a JKU can run up to a 37 with some upgrades, right? Like, if you put better axle shafts in, better ring and pinions, if you re-gear it, some of them need to be, it is a Rubicon. So some people trust those.
Like, would you say 37s even if it's not a Rubicon? Because that's a different front axle.
That's the max. I mean, you're at the absolute max. And I hope you're an automatic, and I hope you're not a throttle jockey, or that stuff will break.
Because I'm not a throttle junkie or any of that, and I bent my front axle with 37s.
Right.
I had to replace it. Especially
on the JK, they were known for thin wall, so a lot of people sleeved those, and then some people gusseted them. So, if you plan to keep that axle, you need to upgrade it and, reinforce it, so to speak. And then you could probably get some life out of it, for sure.
We're all caught up, and it's late.
Wow. We're past time. Okay. Well, good show, everybody.
We still have 125 people on right now, just on YouTube.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, and I appreciate all the questions. It's always nice to talk to everybody. Don't forget our next events we're going to be at Trail Hero. Well, we've got my birthday bash up at Big Bear if you're a local coming up on the 13th. And then we've got Trail Hero. We've got our turkey run. So you've still got a few opportunities to come wheel with us. And till next time, see you guys soon.